The Rugged Ridge All-Terrain 4 3/4 inch Fender flare kit is for those of you that have a 1997 to 2006 TJ that are looking for some new Fender flares that are going to be a little bit different from the factory. These are going to be a pocket rivet style flare, and they're also going to provide a little bit more coverage for some wider tires or for some wheels that have a little less back spacing if that's what you're looking for as well. These are going to be a pretty easy 1 out of 3 wrench installation. They're going to bolt into all of your factory Fender flare mounting holes, so no drilling or major modifications to the Jeep necessary to get these installed, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So when you are looking for new Fender flares, you have OEM flares, you have OEM style flares, and then you have flares that are going to be a little bit different from your factory ones, and that's what you're going to find with these. Again, they're a little wider, they give you some better tire coverage, so if you need that to stay legal in your area, or if you just want to keep the tires from throwing some junk up on the side of the Jeep, that additional width is going to be helpful. The pockets and the rivets being visible, that's really just a style thing. If you like it, this is an excellent option. If you don't, there are some options that are more of an OEM style without the rivets and the pockets, but will still give you factory or even more coverage. So a ton of options out there as far as flares go. In general, a lot of them are going to have the same style of finish on them. They're going to have some UV resistance to help them from fading in the sun, like the factory flares would have as well. This is going to be a great kit because it does include all of the hardware that you need to get them installed on the Jeep, and as with most others, it will accept your factory turn signal up front, so you don't have to do any sort of weird wiring stuff to just swap out your flares. In general, I think these are a pretty fairly priced set of plastic flares. If you step up to a metal flare or an aluminum metal flare, you're going to be significantly more expensive than this. But for a pocket style, rivet style flare that gives you more coverage in the factory, I think these ones are pretty fairly priced. So whether you're replacing your factory flares on your TJ because they're faded, they're cracked, or you're replacing them because you specifically want a different style, these are going to be a really excellent option for you. The pocket I keep talking about is this area right here, and that means that the hardware is exposed. You can see it from the outside as opposed to the hardware being underneath where it is hidden, and that, like I said before, that's strictly a style thing. The fact that this is a rivet style flare, that kind of goes right along with the pocket. The rivet that is in here, or really the bolt, but the rivet is designed to be seen, so it is a little bit flashier than your hardware would be if it were hidden. And again, of course, you're going to end up with a total of 4 3/4 inches of tire coverage with these. In some areas, you do need that to remain legal, or you just want to keep the stuff from flying up on the side of your Jeep when you're off-road, when you're on-road. This is going to keep the sides of your vehicle a little bit cleaner. Now I'll have a member of the install team show you how you get this installed.
Tools used for this installation are as follows: small impact gun or ratchet, an 8mm wrench, an Allen key, a 10mm socket, a 7mm socket, and because we had damage to our vehicle, a riv nut tool. We're going to begin by using a 7mm ratchet and a body parts pry tool to remove our front fender, then we'll move on to our rear. Okay, we're going to begin the removal of our front fender flare by using our ratchet and socket. There's only a few screws on this side and the rest are actually push clips. Now with your factory fender flares and with our new replacement fender flares, your turn signal is built into them. So what we're going to do is go ahead and unplug our turn signal. After that, once we get the fender flare off, we're going to go ahead and remove our turn signal lens from our fender flare and put it into our new one. So you can go ahead and give the socket a twist and pull the light out, and we're just going to let that hang for now, and we'll plug it back in once we get the new one on. Now to remove the fender clips, I'm just going to use a pry tool and carefully pry them off. Now that covers the removal of our factory front fender flare. Now if you'll notice here, we are missing 2 of our factory riv nuts that are supposed to be there that hold our fender flares on. Now this is not an uncommon thing. It happens to get a little corrosion when you try to remove them, they get pulled out. You want to get the proper size riv nut that goes in there that matches the thread on your bolts. You open up 2 jaws, you spin your new riv nut down on top of it. Now this is just like a rivet gun, but instead of holding something together, now you get a threaded hole that is there for you to use over and over. We're just going to go ahead and insert it where our original one was, pull the 2 sides together, then back the tool out, And there you have it, we have our threaded hole again. This is very simple. You can rent one of these relatively cheap, and I actually highly advise going down and filling in all the holes with them. If you ever need to remove them again, it does make your life a lot easier. Let's go ahead and get this other one fixed so we can go ahead and start installing our new fender flare. Now, as you can see here, this is our original fender flare as comparison to our new fender flare, and they are considerably wider. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our corner light or our turn signal out of our factory fender flare and insert it into our new one. To do this, you're gonna flip your fender flare over, and we're just gonna go ahead and remove this 10mm nut from the back of it. Now you wanna take your time and do this carefully. It's only a plastic threaded post on the back of our turn signal lens. We're gonna use the same nut on our new fender flare. Now to install it is the same as the removal. We're gonna go ahead and just lock in our two top tabs, slide the post through, and put our nut down over top. And just give it a little tighten. Just make sure you do not over tighten it. It will break easily or strip out very easily. Okay, now before we go ahead and put our fender flares up on our Jeep, we're gonna go ahead and take our new socket head bolts. We're gonna go ahead and install the washer on them first before we put them through the fender. Then we're gonna slide the bolt through the fender hole and use one of these rubber spacers in between. Now we're gonna do this for all the holes in our fender before we secure them on. Now we're ready to go ahead and install our fender flares on our Jeep. Just going to go ahead and line up all the holes. And using your Allen key, go ahead and get these two zipped in. Now we have these two back here secured down. Those go into the factory riv nuts that are in your fender. Next, we're going to use the supplied washers and nuts that come with the kit. Now to install these, you're going to use an 8mm wrench to tighten them, and the same Allen key as the other two. Just slide it on the back. Hold it with your wrench, and go ahead and drive your Allen key down. You're gonna go ahead and repeat the same process for the last few that are left. Now we can go ahead and plug our turn signal back into its lens. And that covers the installation of our front fender flares. It is the exact same steps on the opposite side. Now let's go ahead and get moving to the rear. We'll show you how to get those in. Now, as you can see on our Jeep, our fender flare extensions were actually already missing from our Jeep before we got started today. If your Jeep is still equipped with them, you're gonna wanna go ahead and remove those because our new fender flares will not match up to those. And I think it looks a lot cleaner without them. Now the removal of your rear fenders is just as easy as your front ones. There's gonna be several 7mm bolts that have to be removed. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you those bolts because our Jeep, at one point, the fender flares were removed from it, probably on the trail, brushing up against a tree. They probably got yanked off and were put back together with push clips. So we're gonna go ahead and get our fender off. I'm gonna show you how to get the new ones installed. Now to get our new ones installed, we're gonna go ahead and pull back our inner fender slightly, just so we can reach the back of them. Now that all our hardware is installed on our fender flare, we can go ahead and get it on our Jeep now. Now to do the opposite side is the exact same steps using the exact same hardware and tools. Now I hope this video was informative to you, and to find more videos and parts like these, make sure you visit us at ExtremeTerrain.com and give us a follow on YouTube.